Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the wish list, and in my mind, what is the most optimal wish list for players. We'll go through the staple heroes that I think are just a must-have, and then we'll go through the options for the leftovers. I have done one of these videos before, but I just figured there's been new heroes, time to update it, so let's get into it. Okay, so we're going to kick it off with the Lightbearers. Now, for this one, Rowan, no-brainer to me. He's just like the best non-celestial hypergene in the game, in my opinion. So he's just always in there. The potions are fantastic heals. The energy potion with the signature item is amazing. Then he's got the stuns, the attack buff, the energy increase. He's just phenomenal. And if you get him ascended late game, he often can sit in the front row because he's got that damage immunity to a hit and stuff like that. So he's amazing. Lucius, I just feel like Lucius is good to have any time, because even though he does fall off a little bit towards the late game, towards the real end game, by the stage that he falls off of being in your main team, you're probably going to be getting towards two battle enemies where you got to beat two enemies. So he's going to find a place eventually. Plus, he's just fantastic with the shields for anything that has energy bar maintaining to the next battle, like Labyrinth, Peaks, all that sort of stuff. So he's just really, really good, especially early game, phenomenal. And then we have Rosaline. Rosaline, just amazing support no matter who your damage dealer is to boost them. She does some good damage herself too. She's just fantastic. And Rowan and Rosaline, like Rosaline's dropped off in the boss meta a little bit, but Rowan is still completely there. So those are the three staples for Lightbearers that I would always put in my team. In my wish list, like every account, they're always there. Then you've got some wriggle room in the next two slots. Now, if you just find a hero fun, like people use Thane, people use Oscar, there's a lot of fun heroes that you can choose, but for me there's a few main options that I would be putting in this spot. Gwyneth being one of them, just because she's fantastic, especially in the late game. Once she gets to level 221, her arrows start stunning enemies, and she's just a great late end game damage dealer. Great for PvP as well with a Zolrath team, so it's very whale heavy, but she's just a great hero all in all. You've got, for another damage dealer, you've got Belinda. Belinda's fantastic. We all get, I think, 3 free copies, one through a campaign stage. You get the Elite Plus copy from the 7-day login, so you've already got a good start on her. She's just good. Sort of not as a early. I don't like her as an early game carry because she doesn't have the sort of self-sustain that something like a Chimera has. But once you get to that whole everyone being 240 and you've got a good Lightbearers team, she's a good free-to-play just nuker on a team. Not the best, but still pretty good. Besides that, we have Rigby. Just kidding. Don't do Rigby. Okay, besides that, we have Forks. Forks, really good. He seems to have dropped off a bit lately, just new heroes, everyone sort of progresses, but he's still a good Lightbearer to use. Has a really nice signature item. Also, obviously, the banishing an enemy for 8 seconds at the start of the battle, really nice. Has the ultimate that's going to remove all buffs off the enemies, plus debuffs off your teammate. Really, really good hero as well. And then, there's another one I really like. I really like Cecilia. Fantastic for bosses. Absolutely great for them. She's just one of those niche units that's not going to be amazing all the way through, like for everything, but she has some niche situations where she really does shine. So she's another really good one. And then, once you've gotten through a few heroes, Estrelda might be one that you want to put in. She's sort of decent now. Someone's going to really get salty at me for saying sort of decent, but she's okay. But all those other heroes I would personally put ahead of Estrelda. Some people would argue that you'd put her ahead of Cecilia, but I find Cecilia's utility just too good. So my basic wish list would look something like that and that for me personally, because I love Gwyneth gameplay and I really like the utility of Cecilia. Another common layout that a lot of people have is going to be something like that. But once again, if you have a hero you just want to have fun with, put a Thane in there. Just don't do Rigby. Okay, so onto the Maulers. Maulers for me have one staple at the moment that I see as a non-negotiable. Sophia. She's not great early game, but if you just get through those copies of her in the early game, so that when you get to late game you can ascend her, she's an absolute savage. Best Mauler in my opinion by far, and she's the only one I consider as 100% staple. Besides that, you've got a bit of wriggle room. There's a lot of things that aren't fully tested here, and I'm not 100% sure on. Verk just had a rework. He seems better, but he hasn't had a chance to really show his dominance anywhere. Drez is still fairly new. I thought he was going to be big in like boss meta and stuff like that. I haven't seen too many crazy things with him. At the moment, Warwick is still a meta unit for boss fights just because of the amount of defense he reduces off the enemies. So he's one that, if you're looking at complete like endgame type boss meta, he's not too great anywhere else. Obviously, they're all going to be decent in the Mauler tower because you have to use Maulers, but it's pretty much bosses is where he's going to be used. Brutus is another one. So Brutus, I like Brutus because Brutus has dropped off a lot since the start of the game. He used to be like everyone thought he was like the best, and then, you know, more units come in, he falls in relevancy. But Brutus is one on all my accounts that I leave in there to get him ascended, so that if I have that niche situation where I need his invincibility in the front row, I've got it. But also then he works as a perfect target just to bind to a dimensional, now that all these dimensionals are coming in and they're free to play. Brutus is like my number one leave on the wish list for a dimensional link, because you can either use him as the link or you can use him for his straight damage immunity, just to hold up a front row position for a while. Other ones that I really like, I still really like the chicken with his 3 furniture item. Being able to group the whole enemy team up, I still think it's fantastic. Probably be a few people laughing at me for this because I always mention it, but I really do like the chicken as well. Absolutely fantastic for that ability. And he's decent overall. Not phenomenal, but, you know, he's decent. And then you have other things like Satrana got a rework, and so did a Numisu, Totem Dude. They both got reworks, but I do like Totem Dude a lot more now, but he's still not like a number one option for me. He's got a really nice haste buff. I do like the way he works with some heroes for that haste buff. But like I said, Maulers is very up to you on your account how you want to play it. But those 3 are the 3 that I mainly put into most of my accounts, but Sophia being the only 100% staple on this account currently, which is my free-to-play account. I've actually currently got, I think it was Numisu, and I've got Titus. I like Titus as well. He seems really lackluster endgame, but he's just got a cool design, and that's why I put him in. And like I said, if you just like someone, you want to test them, don't be afraid to put him in. Now, moving on to the Wilders. Now, Wilders for me is the most straight line obvious one for me, but you can wiggle it around. So you got Leica, Nomura, and Tassie, and then you have Iron and Saurus. That is pretty much my staple best Wilder wish list. A lot of people like say to me, well, why don't you use Solus? My problem is the Leica, Nomura, Tassie combo is just, it's such a good support core, and they're all fantastic heroes. And then you've got Iron, who's just an endgame beast, and then you've got Saurus, who's just like the boss king. So it's like those 5. It's just, Solus is good. In case anyone doesn't know who Solus is good, but she isn't good enough, in my opinion, to bump out any of those other options. And for me, normally, once I finish one of these, I go ahead and put Gorvo on there, the Ninja Turtle, because I just like his synergies with Iron, and I'm trying to build that combo. But Lawson's also good to have one copy of. His link can be really, really fantastic in some situations. But for me, that is my staple wish list. If you were going to wriggle anyone around, I feel like the 100% staples are going to be Tassie and Leica. They're fantastic. Nomura's sort of, some teams I use, some teams I don't. So she's not as 100%. And then also Saurus, if you're not worried about bosses, you don't have to take him. Iron, if you just want to try a different damage dealer, you can drop him and play around with what you want. But those 2 are my 100% favorites. But pretty much on every one of my accounts, unless I have one of these guys ascended, that is going to be my wish list for Wilders. It's just a really strong wish list. Then we go over here and we jump into Graveborn. Now, Graveborn probably have the most changes since the last time we came. New chick, I can't remember her name. What's her name? Theowen, got it. Theowen, she's still not impressing me. She's not even, at the time of making this, I don't think she's out on the global server yet, so not much testing. I'm not a big fan of her on paper from what I've seen, but some people are talking about some comps where she could work. But I'm going to have to leave her out, wait and see. I'm not a massive fan of her. For Graveborn, there's 3 staples for me, and that is going to be Pharrell and Nara first off, because they're just amazing control, damage, everything. Pharrell's just, with his signature item, just destroys, and his spirits, and then his furniture item on top. He's just crazy. He's just crazy good CC. Not as great early game because he gets a lot of his effectiveness through his skill ups, but eventually he's going to be fantastic. Nara, all the way from early game, she's a single target lockout. She can pick someone up from the back row, lock him out. Fantastic. The new staple for me is going to be Stitchy or Damon, however you want to call him. I'm still spewing that they've got Damon's photo in that. It should be Stitchy. But yeah, this guy is just a beast for PvE, especially. Some people trying to use him in PvP. I'm seeing some good things get DM'd to me from him in PvP as well, but especially PvE, he's just, his damage, because he steals health from the enemies based on their max HP, and he can do it to 3 enemies, he just becomes ridiculous. And obviously Signature Item, Furniture Item are all going to make him better, but the damage he can deal is just absolutely crazy. So I really do think this guy, I think he'd be a better carry early game than Chimera, personally, but the problem is you can't get guaranteed copies of him, so I still go for Chimera on my free-to-play. But I feel like if you could get this, if you had this guy ascended 180 or a Chimera ascended 180, I feel like he would be doing more work than Chimera, just because of that. The scaling damage is insane. But yeah, those are my 3 staples. For the rest, you have wiggle room. If you're an early game player and you're going for the Chimera carry, which I'm still doing on my free-to-play, but I have actually finished her, so I don't need it anymore. Chimera is a great option. You have... I'm actually looking into... I've got an Ascended Isolde on one of my accounts. I'm looking into upgrading his signature item and his furniture. His furniture ability is probably one of the, like... The furniture that he got gave him the biggest boost out of any hero, probably, in my opinion. It just looks absolutely crazy. Gives him so much attack, so much extra damage, and then if he can lock in having control immunity and stuff like that with his signature item, like, he looks great for long drawn out battles. So he's one that I'm really looking at. Odin, another great just situational support that I really do like the use of. He can be really good in some comps. If you get the battle rolling and he opens up all his eyes and he gets all his added effects and he starts portaling people on top of big groups and then stunning them all, really fantastic. Then we also have the other one that there's 2 more. Thorin for the cheese. You can get him from the lab store, but you know, he's there for the cheese pretty much. He's one that I put on the wish list because I know eventually I want the cheese, but I still get disappointed when I pull him because it's like, until I get to the stage of doing the cheese, I don't really mind it. And you only really need him at Mythic for the cheese. So, you know, Thorin's iffy. And then you have Grizzle, who I do have fun with Grizzle. I find him really fun on the account that I built him. And he is meta for some boss fights, just the way he teams up with Saurus. But besides that, not the best tank in the game. There's just better tanks. So those are my 3 staples. Like I said, you can mix it up how you like. On this account, I'm pretty sure what I was playing for was this and this at the moment. So that is going to be it for the wish list. Like I said, there's some wiggle room, but there are those staples. Let's just go back to the complete staples, in my opinion, which are going to be that's pretty much a staple for the Wilders. And that, so that's my base staple line of wish list, and then you can wiggle around what you want. But like I said, if you want to try something different in the Wilders, feel free. It's just those 5 are just too good for me to pass up. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.